Now that you've learned about the Boston Massacre, we will examine the next major event in the American colonies, the Boston Tea Party. Between 1765 and 1770, Parliament twice passed and then repealed taxes. In 1773, a new conflict over taxes exploded. This time, colonists began to think the unthinkable. Perhaps the time had come to throw off British rule and declare their independence. The new trouble began over tea. Colonists enjoyed drinking tea. Most of it came from the British India Company. The company sold its tea to American tea merchants. In turn, these tea merchants sold the tea to the colonists. In the 1770s, the British East India Company was in financial trouble. Over 15 million pounds of its tea sat unsold in British warehouses. In 1773, Parliament tried to help the troubled company by passing the Tea Act. The act removed some taxes paid by the British East India Company. It also let the company sell tea directly to the colonists instead of to the American tea merchants. These steps were meant to lower the price of tea so that Americans would buy more of it. To the surprise of Parliament, colonists protested the Tea Act. American tea merchants were angry because they were cut off out of the tea trade. If Parliament ruined tea merchants today, they warned, it might turn on other businesses tomorrow. Even tea drinkers, who would have paid less for tea, scorned the Tea Act. They believed that it was a trick to make them agree to Parliament's right to tax the colonies. Once again, Americans responded with a boycott. "Do not suffer yourself to sip the accursed dudied stuff," said one newspaper. "For if you do, the devil will immediately enter into you, and you will instantly become a traitor to your country." Daughters of Liberty brewed homemade Liberty tea from raspberry leaves. At some ports, colonists refused to let ships unload their cargoes of tea. When 3 ships loaded with tea reached Boston, Governor Thomas Hutchinson insisted that the ships unload their cargo. But Sam Adams and other Sons of Liberty had their own plans. On the night of December 16th, they met in Old South Church. They sent a message to the governor, demanding that the ships leave the harbor. The messenger returned with the governor's reply. The ships must stay and unload their cargo. Adams stood up and declared, "This meeting can do nothing further to save the country." His words were a signal. One by one, people left the meeting. A little while later, a crowd of about 50 people, dressed as Indians, swarmed down to the harbor and boarded the tea ships. "We then were ordered by our commander to open the ship's hatches," recalled one colonist, "and take out all the chests of tea and throw them overboard, first cutting and splitting the chests with our tomahawks." In 3 hours the job was done. The contents of 342 chests of tea floated in Boston Harbor. The next day, the cautious John Adams wrote about the event in his diary. "The people never rise without doing something to be remembered, something notable and striking. This destruction of the tea is so bold, so daring, so firm. It must have such important and lasting consequences that I can't help considering it a turning point in history."